If you're hearing this, we thank you for listening to another episode of It's the Streamable Life podcast with Brandon and Lauren, and we are here in the new year, 2025.
Yes.
We're actually experiencing the first real winter weather of
In a long time.
of the season. Really, I just saw where they're canceling school in Indy.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
guess
things
they'll do
getting
it here
canceled.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's it starts snowing at I want to say right at 10, and it hasn't stopped, and it's not supposed to stop. Is the thing.
yeah. It starts
So
snowing here around noonish, quarter to one, and it hasn't stopped. So
yeah,
yeah, they called Friday and told them that they would be picking up my dad for dialysis tomorrow. So
dang,
they were like, "We're not playing with that."
right.
So how were your holidays? How was Christmas and New Year's?
Not bad. Very calm and quiet. Just like I wanted. October, November, and December were hectic for me, so I didn't want to do anything, and that's exactly what I got. So, and luckily, it hadn't snowed at that time, so we could still get out and move around. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, same here. They were pretty chill. We had dinner, did a little quick gift exchange, but nothing really crazy. New Year's was like church, but everything was really calm,
Right.
just chillaxing, really.
Yeah.
Any New Year resolutions at all?
I got some small ones. Really trying to cut back on how much I eat sweets. That one I absolutely love sweets, so I need to do that. Let's see. I've made a list of all the movies on my streaming networks. So I'm trying to knock out one a day so I can just clear these things off, and hopefully by the spring
Mm,
have them ready to put in a new slate of shows and movies to watch. So I'm trying to stick to
yeah,
that.
cool. For me, it's trying to be more intentional with like my time so I can be more productive.
Right.
So at least getting up, like I usually am up, I'm not up. So I'm trying to see like get
Right.
up as soon as I wake up and just try to get my day started. That way I have more time to do the things I want to do after I finish the things I
Exactly.
need to do. So yeah,
Right.
definitely that. As far as breaking news or anything happening, the Golden Globes are tonight. I totally forgot
Hmm.
about that. On
Yeah, I didn't know
CBS.
until earlier today. Yeah.
Yeah, Nikki, what's her
Glazer.
Glaser is the
Yeah.
host. I think she'll do a good job. She's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um,
She's hilarious.
so that's happening, and I just got wind of this lawsuit at Fox Sports with a woman is alleging sexual harassment from Skip Bayless,
Oh wow.
um, as well as other sportscasters or whatever. I guess it's like a huge deal. I guess she was a hairstylist or something. It involves Bayless. It involves Joy Taylor, that I think used to work there but works somewhere else now.
Jesus.
Because Joy Taylor apparently was having a relationship with a superior, while that superior was engaged or something. I don't know. It's a whole debacle just dropped on the internet
That's crazy.
about this lawsuit. Yeah, they said Skip would make comments like, um, would make like unwanted body touching, hugging too long. And one woman said, "Aren't you married?" And his response was allegedly, "Aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have 3 or 4 wives?" So
That's crazy.
yeah, it's not looking good over
Wow.
there. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure there'll be more to come with that. Hopefully that drowns out some of the other crazy things that are happening,
Right.
because
Right.
America is on one. I don't know what's
It's going
happening, but
down in New Orleans and Las Vegas, and
it's
my
insane.
goodness, it's been a
And
lot.
tomorrow is January 6th, so it's the anniversary of
Yeah.
the insurrection that no one wants to call an insurrection. So
Yeah.
there's
It's
a lot going on.
too
And
much.
that brings us to our first topic. So while outside is just frightful in general between the weather and everything else, what are the shows that you sort of retreat to just to sort of relax? Things you seem to watch on repeat, and whether it's because you know what's going to happen or just because it feels familiar to you, where you find solace. I know a lot of people do this either when they're stressed or when there's nothing else to watch or just when they want to feel good again. So, what are
Yeah.
some of your comfort shows?
So for me, there are three that come to mind, and the first one is completely nostalgic because it reminds me of just what. Now, I was young when it came on, so I didn't see it until middle school, early high school, and it was on Nick at Night. And my best friend Tyrone used to call me every time, like, "Bro, did you see this episode? It's so silly." But Fresh Prince of Bel Air was one of those comfort shows for me that I can always turn on and just be like, I know what's going to happen, but just the humor always gets to me, man. It always makes me feel good. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one. It's a newish show, but it's absolutely hilarious. Dairy Girls on Netflix. It is so funny and very easy to watch all three seasons. And then the last show for me is I talk about all the time on here, but Bob's Burgers, the animated show. It's been on since 2011, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's how some people go back to like The Simpsons or whatever. That's what that is for me, and I can just turn that on and let it play through Hulu and watch like 6 or 7 episodes before I'm like, okay, let me find something else to do. So
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same thing, a toss up between sitcoms and just shows that are kind of nostalgic.
yeah.
I'm having like a resurgence for Living Single. Like we were
Oh,
too young for it in its prime, but have caught it in reruns
right.
recently and now watching it again. It still holds up really well. So yeah, VH1 shows it, and that network Dabble airs
Yeah,
it
I know
too.
you're
So I'm
talking about.
always catching it like in the morning, afternoons, whatever. And then of course my true crime obsession
Yeah,
is always into Snapped or some other show like that. I'm always on Oxygen, whether it's Snapped or Dateline, Secrets Uncovered, or whatever other crazy shows they
right,
have. It just you want to see what happens, try to solve it before they do. Even if I've seen it before, it's just interesting to watch.
right.
Kind of passes the time. And then recently, I've just enjoyed reruns of Murder She Wrote and In the Heat of the Night. Like that's where my go-to
Yeah,
shows
just put
are.
that
There's
on.
so many
Yeah,
seasons of them, and it's
exactly.
interesting. It's sort of like a game to see actors from like stuff now, like where they started, like
Exactly.
early in their careers. Just faces everywhere pop up. You're like, oh wow, they were in an episode of this. It makes sense. So
Yeah, that's so funny you say that because another show I would add to that is the X Files, and
mm,
I watched that kind of as a comfort show as well. But that's the same way. You'll pop up and you'll see, BD Wong or somebody, and it'll be like, "Wow, they were in this all these years ago. It's crazy." And yeah, it's exactly like
yeah,
that.
yeah, and they're playing some like extra secondary
Exactly.
character. It's like, well, everyone has to
Right.
start somewhere, but you always forget like those were the primetime shows at the time. Like Murder She Wrote was what
Yeah.
people watched
In the evening,
weekly.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just shows you like the dynamic has at how television sort of like changed
Yeah.
since then. But yeah, tell us some of your comfort shows, either on our social medias or just if you find us on Twitter somewhere, or on
Yeah.
Spotify. You can leave comments right below in the podcast section. So yeah, we'll go ahead and transition to our feature presentation. So right now we're going to do a little retrospect of season 1 of Apple TV's Severance. The show that kind of took everyone by storm when it premiered back in, what was
I
it,
think it's 2002.
2022, around this
Yeah.
time, 2022, kind of out of nowhere. It's become one of the bigger hits on sort of like the quiet but deadly network that's Apple TV. Um, Season 2 is arriving January 17th, so we thought we'd go back, rewatch some of it, reminisce, and see where things have fallen since then. Um, so, yes, Season 1, just give you a little background, the series was created by Dan Erickson, and executive produced by Ben Stiller, who directs quite a few episodes as well.
Yeah.
And we follow main character Adam Scott playing Mark Scout, who works at Lumen Industries, and he's doing some important work because he has agreed to be severed, which is a new process or procedure that is exclusive to that company, where they literally consciously divide your work and life
Your life. Yeah.
selves, basically. So when Mark is not at work, he is his outie, and when he's at work, he is his innie,
And yeah.
and he doesn't have recollection of
The
what
other. Yeah.
what of the others' experiences. So it's supposed to be some type of um, almost like a coping mechanism. We learned that
Yeah.
he's suffered a family loss recently, and he thought this procedure would help him not suffer with the grief all day. And there are other coworkers with him, played by John Turturro, Dylan Cherry, and Britt Lower. The show also stars Patricia Arquette, Tremel Tillman, and Christopher Walken. The cast is incredibly stacked
Yeah.
when you think about it. And the second season also invites some brand new characters as well. So how much of season 1 have you gotten through so far?
I've watched up to episode 5, so I
Okay.
just have 6, 7, 8, 9, so 4 left.
Okay. And episode 5, just to make sure I'm not. Let me make sure we know which episode 5 is. Okay, so this is where we kind of meet the other
Workers. This
co-workers.
is the end of the episode is literally they encounter the guy with the goat, the baby goats, and then the other people on the other floor. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So Mark and his team are M&D, and the other
Mm-hmm.
team is O&D, and they're kind of led by Christopher Walken. For some reason, the company has them physically separated.
Right.
And there's some myth around some ravenous murder that took
Yeah, this
place.
picture keeps popping up. Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah, why they are separated. Like some violence happened. They just don't commingle.
Yeah.
So given that I've finished the series, I don't want to get too much into it. But just for your thoughts, what did you think of what you watched so far? What were your initial thoughts, and what are you thinking right now?
Okay. Well, I can say that I really enjoyed it, and it's not. I wouldn't even say it's a slow burn. You kind of just get thrown into it and are expected almost to catch up because I thought it was going to
Mm-hmm.
be a whole thing of outside of Lumen, his sister, brother-in-law, they wouldn't know what he did, but that's not the case. Society is
Right.
aware of this. It's a thing, and people are like, "Oh, okay." And so it kind of makes you an outcast in a way. Some people are like, "Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting." Other people are like, "You're weak for wanting to run for your problems." But
Yeah.
as the story builds and you learn more about him, and I thought the part with the whole fact that he lives next to Patricia Arquette but has no clue who she is really interesting. But you see him start to crack, and um, what's his name? You get introduced to Petey, who
Mm-hmm.
kinds to try to wake up Mark, like hey, this is this, and we did this and this, and I thought that was interesting. And then just the whole thing with what's her name, with Helly, like she just would not give up on trying to get out of
Yeah.
there, and they keep trying to break her, and they did the whole thing where she had to keep repeating or something, or which
Mm-hmm.
was
It's like
intense.
a
And
form
then
of punishment. Yeah.
right, and then like you said, you meet Christopher Walken. You get a little bit more about John Turturro's character, and you keep seeing this like black goo and stuff, and yeah, it's really really interesting. But you can tell in episode 5 you're just right on the precipice of shit hitting the fan.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I think the next episodes will kind of up the ante. But yeah, right now it's I can see why it gained so many followers and grabbed the attention of so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely you're definitely just kind of dropped into the world, and they do a
Yeah,
lot of showing and not telling, which is great.
exactly. Yeah,
And you just have to piece it together. You're right about sort of like it's sort of like a social, not ill, but like it's become like the newest technological breakthrough that's sort of
hmm,
disturbing the social hierarchy of
right,
society. Because why would you do something like that? You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Yeah,
Like it seems impossible. Who are your favorite characters so far?
despite her being a little annoying right now, I do like Helly because she just doesn't really quit, and she's like adamant about getting out of there. So we'll see how that goes. Um, who else? Obviously Mark. I think one of the funnier characters is his brother-in-law. Just the way he goes about things. The part when he was putting that book on his doorstep, it was just like, just put the book down. Just put the book down.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that guy's always playing the eccentric
yeah, yeah.
characters.
always. But no, I think all the characters so far are good, and uh, Patricia Arquette is genuinely kind of terrifying in this, in
Yeah,
her any role. So yeah, no, it's everybody's pulling their weight. So.
yeah. I'm blown away by some of the performances. Patricia as Miss Corbell is
Mhm.
very like sort of like sinister,
Yeah,
and even Milchek is his presence is just so uneasy because you're not sure
I,
which direction he's gonna go.
I was just about to say that he's kind of creepy in a way, like
Mm-hmm.
almost like he could just like snap, just like
Yeah, he's supposed to be sort of like the one they trust,
yeah.
but like there's something very untrustworthy about him.
And
Uh,
what's her name as well? Miss Casey. She just kind of pops up randomly,
yeah,
and just I'd never seen that actress before. I had to look her up, and I was like, who is that?
yeah, she's been in quite a few things I've watched. She's most known for starring in Agents of Shield, Marvel's old
Okay,
show. She played a character on there for a large arc. That's where I first saw her, and then she's had some bit parts here and there. This might be her biggest role since then, I think.
okay.
Yeah. Excuse me. Do you have any theories as to what may be happening?
I don't know if this apocalyptic like vision they're having with this painting is going to come true, but I don't know. I kind of feel like there will be a crack. Like Mark's Audi version will crack, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, realize something about his any version. Like he knows they exist, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like the that veil is going to be crossed somehow. That's all I can really
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, season 2 arrives January 17th, and there's also will be a rewatch podcast starting
Oh, okay.
tomorrow, January 6th, with Ben Stiller and Adam Scott. So they're going to rewatch season 1, and then they'll be discussing season 2 with like recap episodes once that starts. So that should be interesting as well to get some deep dives into what they're thinking about the
Yeah,
characters and how they came to this series. It is a strong commentary on the whole concept of work-life balance
absolutely. Yeah.
and mental health, and how that sort of component has become a stronger topic within the workplace within the last few years or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and if you want to watch Severance, it's on Apple TV right now, and it's available for purchase. I just found it at Walmart for like $22,
Oh
so
wow.
I
Okay.
I grabbed it before it was gone. So season
Absolutely.
1
Yeah.
is on DVD. All right, and now we'll go ahead and get into our streams of the week.
Oh.
All right, so cascading into what TV we've been watching recently, I finally watched Gordita Chronicles. This was a series that originated on Max, and then in the shuffle of CEOs and whatnot, it was canceled, chopped, because they
Mm,
wanted less, I guess, family oriented shows on the
okay.
platform. So right now it's on Tubi. But it's a really cute show, 10 episodes. I would um, merit sort of like a Latin Everybody Hates Chris, except that's not really the concept, but it's about a young girl whose family from the Dominican Republic moves to America, Miami in the 80s, and how that culture clash happens and how they sort of not assimilate but get used to the American ways. It's a really cute
Right.
show. It would have been perfect
Okay.
for the CW. It would have been perfect
Oh.
for that network. So it's really fun. It's funny, and it has sort of like that everybody hates Chris kind of narrating.
Oh, that's good.
And then I finished Squid Game season 2. Despite my feelings of them not really needing to do this,
Yeah.
I went ahead and watched it. It was decent. It's not going to match
First one.
the
Yeah.
first one. Like, there's just no way. The first one was so unexpected and so emotionally jarring. This one, of course, has some of the same sort of twists and turns that you'd expect, but it just doesn't hit the same. It's only 7 episodes because they've already filmed the third season, which will come later this season, or it's later
Wow.
this year. And it'll be the final season, so it's going to wrap up. But
That's good.
the best episodes are episode 1 and episode 7, just because it gives you something different than what you're used to watching the series.
That's kind of what I heard. Was that it was good. Like a lot of people complained about, oh, well, it wasn't as good as the first one. But then I saw a lot of things like, okay, well, this is good, but you know, it still had that vibe. But yeah, it wasn't as
Yeah,
good as the first one. So
yeah. You're going to care for some of the characters, but there's no one there as emotionally jarring as Abu was in season 1. Like, there's no moments to me like that. There's
yeah,
still emotional moments, and they're going to make you care for certain characters. Um, but it didn't need a sequel.
yeah, yeah,
And given
absolutely.
like the entire series is like a critique on the capitalist system, a sequel and a third season and crossing over Call of Duty, all this other shit, like it's literally the epitome of capitalism. But I digress.
Okay. All right. Well, for me, I didn't watch too many shows, but I did get into some movies. And both of these were on the streaming network Mubi, MUBI, and you can sign up and get a free trial for 7 days, and then um, you have access at least to the United States catalog of films. This is not an ad. I'm just telling people. I don't act like this is something free. But so the first one I got into is the film called Dahomey, and this is
Mm.
about art in the African country of I think it's pronounced Benin, and there are 26 artifacts that they had in this place called the Kingdom of Dahomey, which used to exist. It is now modern day Republic of Benin, and they France owned them. They're in a museum in France. So this whole movie is about these artworks coming back to the country and
Mm.
what they mean, and so they have discussions of um, is it really an act of kindness on France's part, or do they just want to look good?
Right.
And is like, what do these mean anymore? Because we're not that place that we were. But then some people are like, well, this is who we were. This is our starting foundation, and so these artworks are paramount to our lives and our being. So it's really interesting film. It's not long at all. And I think it's just over an hour. It's maybe like 100. An hour and 10 minutes. But they kind of weave like there's fiction into it. Like you'll get a black screen and hear like this raspy voice talking about the artworks and almost like they are the artwork. It's really really interesting, and I imagine in a theater it would have been amazing. And the artwork itself that you see is kind of incredible that it's been able to last as long as it had, because I think this kingdom of Dahomey that they spoke of was around like, I don't know, I think it fell or turned into Benin in like I want to say like the late 1800s. So this artwork
Oh
is
wow.
like old, and so France has had all that time, and we all know France ransacked Africa, just kind of did what they wanted and
Mm-hmm.
act like nothing happened. But it was really interesting. So yeah, definitely worth a watch, and I can understand the hype. It was, I think, one of the top films at the Berlin Film Festival over the last year. So there's that. And then the second one I watched was a film called Bird. This is also a movie, and it's kind of a coming of age film. It follows a young girl named Bailey who lives in like a housing estate with her family, and just kind of she has nothing to do, and she doesn't really have like a good role model. And she meets this guy called Bird, and it's almost like he's just like kind of this mysterious character who she follows, which sounds bad, but it's kind of like a magical film. Like it's very
Mm.
more uplifting than you would think it would be. But it stars Barry Keoghan, who everybody knows now, Fran Rogowski, he's German. He's in a lot of German films, and Bird is, I think her name is pronounced Nakia Adams, and she's kind of new. She's young, so. But yeah, it's very good. It's a good film to watch, and um, yeah, if you have the movie, you can definitely check that out. So
Awesome. I've heard both of those about both of them during the film festival circuit.
yeah,
Heard good things about them. All right, what I'm watching now, I am in the middle of my Daredevil rewatch over on Disney Plus in
okay.
preparation for its return in March. I'm still in season 1,
Mm.
but I'm trudging along. There's a lot of things I forgot, some things I remembered, but it's good to sort of rewatch like these early days of Marvel's sort of like
Right.
TV return, because they were must see TV moments. The
Yeah.
Marvel series on Netflix, it sort of gave them another edge that they could do other stuff outside of their originals. So going to continue there. Hopefully, have all 3 seasons done before March 4th.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all.
I think I was just gonna say, right?
Sorry. Are we moving on?
Yeah, I don't have anything
Oh,
else.
sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and finally we get into our quarter 1 preview. This is basically what the TV we're looking forward to in the next 3 months. You can mention returning shows as well as new shows. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's start with January.
Okay.
All right. So what shows are you looking forward to in January? Do you have any returning shows that you're looking forward to first? We can start there.
Yes,
Okay.
they are literally all returning shows. I couldn't think of anything that I was really like excited for, at TV wise. But once again, I talk about it all the time. But All Creatures Great and Small on PBS's Masterpiece, great show. If you want something a little bit lighthearted and easy to watch, that one's for you. We've just got done talking about it, but Severance comes back the 17th. And one that caught me by surprise, and I know it's actually, I guess it's geared toward children. I don't know. But the new Goosebumps series.
Oh yeah.
I think what's drawn me in is just like, we grew up with Goosebumps. So whenever there's a new depiction of this thing that we grew up with, I'm like, okay, what are they doing? How are they doing it? But and the last season was good. So I'm genuinely interested to see how this second season fares.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that sort of those adaptations, like new stories
Yeah.
in the franchise, and I think it's geared toward kids, but it's more like tween somewhat, and
Yeah.
it's honestly sort of like kind of scary. So I
And that's
think
the thing. I'm like, this is not for children. Like some of the themes are genuinely like, okay, wait a second.
right. I think this season stars David
Swimmer, yeah.
Swimmer. Yeah. It's rang a bell and sort of like has become something new on Disney Plus. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's January 10th. So that is coming up. January 10th is what, next Friday? Next Friday. But it's coming Friday, I should say.
Yeah, for me, returning series I'm looking forward to Abbott Elementary this Wednesday, or will be this evening technically. They're doing their crossover with Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so that should be interesting to see how that works
That's gonna
out.
be so funny.
And then on the 16th, Castlevania Nocturne Season 2 over on Netflix returns, as well as Season 2 of Found on NBC. Part 2 of Season 2. I have Severance on the 17th. And then a show that debuted back in, I think, 2021 is Mo on Netflix. This starred the comedian, what's his name? I think it's Mo Muhammad. What is his name? Muhammad Omer. He starred in Rami's Rami, and then he got his own show on Netflix.
Huh.
Yeah, it debuted in 2022, and was just about his life living as a American Palestinian
I do remember
in
that.
America, and sort of like the immigrant story. And the last we saw, he got stuck in Mexico somehow. But it's returning back, and they said it's pretty good. I'm sure it's going to touch on the whole Gaza situation,
I'm sure.
and everything since that's happened. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And also the return of season 1 of Matlock and season 2 of Elsbeth on CBS. 2 very good broadcast series I'm really enjoying. All right, and then new shows. This week alone, Netflix has Jerry Springer Fights Camera Action.
Yeah, I saw that.
A docuseries chronicling like the behind the scenes craziness that happened on that series. So that should be interesting. Max has The Pit on the 9th. This is a medical procedural starring Noah Wiley of ER fame. The entire series is 15 episodes. Each episode is an hour in one day, so it's like a
Wow.
24
Yeah.
style fashioning. Netflix has Asura. This is a show focusing on a Japanese family in the 1970s, four sisters whose secrets kind of come out after the death of their father. January 26th, CBS has Watson, starring Morris Chestnut. Basically, Watson returns to the medical field after Sherlock Holmes is killed by their nemesis, Mortuary. So that should be interesting.
Okay.
On the 28th, Sterling K. Brown stars in Paradise on Hulu. I think it's a limited series. He plays a Secret Service agent who is suspected of murdering the president. And then Disney Plus on the 29th has the first animated series of several, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So another reimagining of Peter Parker in high
Right.
school. So
One of the many.
yes. Jumping over to February, I'll start with returning. February 6th, I've got Invincible Season 3 over on Prime Video. Adaptation of the graphic novel, animated series, very good. And then on the 14th, we've got Season 3 of Yellow Jackets, finally.
Yes. Yeah. I had Yellow Jackets as one of the returning, and then also, I'm not sure if you got into it, but Reacher on Prime Video is Season 3 now. And I feel like a lot of people are watching. Every time I watch it, I'm just amazed that they were able to find a man as big as he is. He's absolutely huge.
Right.
He's a unit. But it's actually really good. So yeah, that comes back then. And I'm not sure if it's all episodes. I'll have to see, but
okay.
It may be a few at a time. And then as for new, the only thing really new that I was interested in is NBC has the Americas, and I believe that's February 23rd. And this is another nature documentary. And as there's been so many, we usually don't get to see the Americas. So generally our backyard and South America, and you kind of overlook the United States looking here, but so much of this country is just wild and fast, and belongs to the animals. So I'm very interested to see that and how that's done. So yeah.
Okay. New on my list, I had 0 Day on Netflix, starring Robert De Niro. He plays the former president who is called in after an attack and must solve the conspiracy. There's a stat cast as well, like Angela Bassett's playing the president, the current president. So that should be interesting. That comes February 20th. On the 21st on Hulu, 1,000 Blows. I think this is a show from the UK, but it follows two Jamaican immigrants as they enter sort of like the underground boxing system in London during the 19 something or other. So it's like a period.
I've never heard of that. Yeah.
Period drama. I just randomly saw it promoted. I think it's already been filmed. It might be like an import type thing.
Okay, I got you.
I know Stephen Graham stars in it, and then the black guy that was in the sort of like the new version of Roots. I can't remember his name, but he's in it as well. So I'm going to try to check that out.
Stephen Graham, he's so good.
Yeah, he's in everything.
Yeah.
And then February 24th, CBS will debut Beyond the Gates. It's a new soap opera during the day that stars an all-black cast. This is like literally the first black soap opera since Generations, which sort of like debuted back in the 80s, I think, early 90s. So that could be something different. It'll come on 2 p.m. every day. It stars, I know Tamara Tooney is in it from Law & Order Special Victims Unit. She'll play a central character, so that should be interesting.
Okay.
And finally, in March, returning shows I have is Gannibal. Season 2 is finally coming on Disney Plus. This is a Korean series that follows an officer who moves to a remote village to be their new deputy, and he suspects that some things are happening with the sort of like a royal family that sort of runs the village. He finds out that they are eating villagers as some type of traditional ritual. It was really good. And it's been a while since season 1 dropped. I'm excited for season 2.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, for me, I didn't have much for March. I couldn't find anything really of anything that was coming out. So I guess we'll just have to wait until it gets closer. But yeah, for right now, the January and February,
Okay.
that's what I'm after.
All right. For
I,
new for
I
me. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say. I think are the Oscars in March?
Yes, I believe
I think those are
March.
like at the beginning of March.
I want to say March 5th, March
Yeah.
2nd.
Okay, March
They're
2nd.
March
Yeah.
2nd. So yeah, they're pretty early this year.
Mm-hmm.
So those will drop March 2nd, which we'll all be tuning in for that. March 4th, Daredevil Born Again over on Disney Plus. They're bringing all the characters back from the original series,
Oh
basically.
wow.
Before they said it wasn't going to be like a reboot or like a sequel or something, but then people that's what people want to see. So
Right.
like
Exactly.
Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio's returning, um, Job Berthenthal, like all the people are coming back that are alive and that matter
Yeah.
for that continuation. On the 14th, Dope Thief from Apple TV comes out. This stars Brian Tyree Henry. He basically plays um, sort of like a low key criminal who gets caught up in like a bigger conspiracy after one single job. I think it's a limited series. He's always good in anything he's in,
Yeah,
so
he is.
I'm trying to check that out. And I forgot to mention that Gannibal drops March 19th on Disney Plus.
Okay. All right.
And that is our quarter one preview for TV. We thank you for listening to this episode of It's a Streamable Life. When we come back in 2 weeks, we'll be discussing our movies. So you'll be getting
Yes.
some of the movies we've watched or are currently watching. You'll get our preview of films for the first quarter, and you'll also get our thoughts on the Oscar nominations that would have
Absolutely.
been announced a few days prior to the episode.
Right.
So until then, keep on streaming.
Peace.